start with the feet straight out in front, sitting up nice and tall. And if you've got a towel or a blanket handy, then just coming to sit just up on the edge of the blanket can make placing the legs out in front a little easier, because you can keep the spine nice and straight. So when we lift up the hips like that, that's what that does. So I'm not all the way back on the blanket, I'm just on the edge of it so that I've got an anterior tilt to the pelvis. So taking a little point of the toes, really reaching the toes away, plantar flex. And then draw them back towards you. Toes come back. Nice. Point the toes. Sometimes gives me a little cramp in the toes, this one. And then draw the toes back. Yep, doing it right now. Okay, point the toes. Stretch out the tops of the feet and then draw it back. Lovely. And then just little circles with the ankles. And then take that the opposite direction. Oh, feels good. Giving a bit of love to the feet and ankles before we start. Take the hands behind you. I'm going to come off the blanket and just placing the feet hip distance apart. And just a little rotation from the ankle joint. You're trying to keep the knees and the hips in line, so we're not rocking the knees with this one. We're just taking a little bit of tibial rotation, this is one of my favourites because it's an area of the body that gets largely forgotten about. And if you get any kind of pain through here, if you work on hard surfaces or do a lot of running or any of that kind of stuff, just include this. It's so good. So good. Fantastic. Yeah, and then walk the feet wide. Just gently drop the knees. That's probably a little too wide. Just drop the knees in towards each other. Then we're going to come to lie down. You're going to take your blanket. If you've got a bolster, you can use that too, but I actually don't want to be up quite so high as all that. So yoga blanket's good, nice and firm, or otherwise a couple of beach towels and roll them up together. I'm going to make a little sausage and you're going to place that along behind you. And then we're going to lie back. We want about 2 fists distance between your tail and the blanket or the towel, just so that when you lie back, your lower back has got a little bit of space. So we're going to come down, lie back over the blanket. And then if it feels okay, you're going to shimmy down a little bit. You're going to take the soles of the feet together and let the knees go wide. You're going to roll the shoulders over either side of that little sausage that you've made with the towel. So you're really draping the shoulders down towards the floor. Soles of the feet together, knees go wide. But if that doesn't feel good on your knees or your hips, you're just going to send the legs straight out in front. That's perfectly great. So lying here, there's a little bit of opening to the front of the throat. The shoulders are draping down and back. And I want you to close your eyes. I'm just taking a couple of deep breaths here. Eyes closed, doing a little scan through your physical body. Just noticing how you feel. Picturing a weather map and noticing any hot spots. Noticing any areas that need a little extra love and attention. We're just going to be mindful and caring of those as we move through. And some of the stretches might be a little bit beyond your range, or you might have an injury that you're looking after. I encourage you to do that. So feel free to modify at any time as we move through this practice. Just another couple of breaths. See if you can breathe a little more deeply. See if you can become sensitive to the movement of the diaphragm as you breathe. So as you inhale, the diaphragm presses down to give the lungs room to inflate. And then as we exhale, it comes back up to that solar plexus area. And even if you can't quite feel it, just sort of picturing that in your mind, feeling this opening up of the chest and then this reducing of that space. Two more breaths. And take the hands to the outside of the thighs and gently bring the knees back together. You're just going to roll off your blanket to one side. We're going to come back to the floor, but we're going to move the props out of the way and come all the way back. You're going to take your right ankle onto the left knee and then lift up and grab a hold, just easing into a full stretch. Give a little squeeze. Taking just a little gentle rock side to side. And just straight over to the other side, so left leg. Lift it up, a little squeeze. So we're just preparing the body for what's to come. Just a little gentle rock. And hands come under the knees. We're going to take a little rock and roll up. Great. So let's come into a pigeon pose. We'll take our right leg across our mat, and we'll shoot our left leg back. So as per previous classes, if that's too much on the knee or the hip, then taking a 90-90 can be a great way to come into this. The other option too is to come all the way into pigeon and to take your rolled up towel, slide it in under your right butt cheek, and then come on down to the ground. So you might still be up on your hands. This might be well and truly enough for you. That's fine. Or you can come down. Now the closer this heel comes towards your groin, the easier the kinder it might feel. And the further away it comes, the more intense it's going to feel. So just monitor depending on how you're feeling. And if you can come down deep into that pose, then fantastic. But if you can't, that's fine too. It's all good. And so just hanging out here. Come back a little bit. I think I've put my camera a little bit too close. So come on down. And if you can come all the way down, stack the hands, maybe a little hot potato with the hands, take the fists to the forehead, that's cool. Or even all the way to rest the forehead on the mat, that's great too. And just another couple of breaths. And slowly come up on the hands. Swing that left leg around. So you've got your left leg long, your right leg bent. And because I do have a little bit of playing up happening in that knee today, it's a good reminder for how we can support it. So you can always take your little towel and place it underneath the knee, and that can offer just a little bit of support. And same for if the hips are tight and the knee's sitting up high. It's good just to give that knee a little bit of support. So sitting up really tall, we're just going to fold forward. So depending on how tight you are in the hamstrings and in the glutes, glutes or in the lower back. There's a lot going on with these forward folds. And we're just going to come on down. You want to try to be as comfortable as you can be in this position. And so really allowing the back to open up. And this posture is one that really benefits from a little bit of time. So initially you might feel that tightness in the hamstring, and then as that begins to soften up a little bit, you might notice that you're also tired in the glutes. And that might soften. You might notice that the lower back's pulling a little bit, and so on and so forth. And just a couple more breaths here. And then slowly come on up. I'm just going to swing back to face the front again so you can see this. So I'm going to pick that right knee up and step it on the outside of my left leg. So there's a couple of options. This is great. So this is fantastic. You can hold here, you can hug that knee in towards you, you can take the right hand behind you and take a little look over the shoulder. And so this is our first real spinal twist of our practice. So feel free to take this option. Another option is to bend up the bottom leg, to lift up that left arm and to take it all the way across. So you're gently pressing that right leg over and away, and then taking a little look over the shoulder. Now, if you're really flexy, you might be able to take the hand through. I can't do this one, but take the hand through, grab the other hand from behind your back, and really take yourself into that twist. So just going with whatever variation along the way feels good for you. But you want that hand behind you to be like scaffolding holding you up, so you're not leaning back on it, but rather using it to lift the spine even taller, and then taking the look back over the right shoulder and feeling that stretch going then all the way up the neck. And we don't want to twist when we don't have a long spine. So we don't want to be hunched over and then try to twist. We want to have beautiful space between the vertebrae as we lift up. And then just look back to the front. Take a little counter twist the opposite side. Now, if you've got that left leg long, you're going to bend it in. I'm going to take a hold of our right leg like a little baby and give it a little rockabye baby. Just feeling into that right hip flexor is what we're aiming for, just a little bit of movement. Yeah. And if you can't bring the hands together, if it looks more like this, that's fine too. We just want a little bit of a rock. There's kind of no right or wrong. Hand hooked under too to lift it even higher if you want is great. And then we're going to take that foot out in front and we're going to cross our hands over the foot so that we've crossed at the wrist. And we lift the foot up and draw the knee in towards the chest. And that might be plenty, in which case stay there. Or if you can extend the leg, you're going to extend the leg, draw the leg back towards you, and then watch that you're not slouching into the back. We want to sit up nice and tall. And then if you want to take this even further, you're going to point the toe like we did at the start and reach the toes away. And so with the hands around the foot pointing away should be giving a gentle pull to that space between the shoulder blades and the upper back. We still want to sit up nice and tall, belly drawn in slightly, so that's supporting the lower back. Point the toe and reach away. Great. And then bend, take it down. And we're going to take all of that to the other side. So this time we're taking our left leg across in front and swinging the right leg around behind. And this is where, once again, you might want to take your rolled up towel or your blanket and place that underneath your bottom. Sit up nice and tall and then come on down. Wiggle back a little bit. And so take your time. Up on the elbows to start. If you can, hands is fine too. Or maybe all the way to the floor. Maybe hot potato with the hands. It is nice if you can get the head to the point where it's supported on something. So even if that was with a bolster underneath you and the elbows on, and then resting the thumbs against the head, just to place that third eye center on something is a really grounding sense in the body. It really brings you into yourself. So whatever option, all the way down is great too, all the way to the floor. And if you're really bendy and this leg is all the way out in front and you don't need the blanket, then you don't need to use it. But it is really nice to help to balance the hips. Couple more breaths. And slowly come on up. And, come onto that left side and swing the right leg around. And once again, we're going to come into, it's called Janu Shirshasana in yoga. So sole of the foot to the inside of the thigh. You might put your knee in a blanket. If you don't need it, you don't need it. But if there's any kind of niggle in that knee, it's really nice to support it. So we're going to sit up nice and tall. And then we're going to begin to fold forward. So think about taking your chin forward of the knee rather than dropping the head towards the knee. Think more about getting a long spine. So we come forward. And again, this is one that's nice with a bit of time. And so if you do have areas that feel tight, think about breathing into those spots. It sounds a bit weird, but it really works. So for example, I'm feeling quite tight in my hamstring, so I would imagine sending that breath into the hamstring. So as if each time I inhale, I'm drawing the air all the way down and into the back of that leg. And allowing that to create a bit more space, a little bit more softness. You might find after you stay there for a little while, you get a little more room. And that's great. And if you don't, that's okay too. And it can be all sorts of reasons for tightness in the body. Overwork, underwork, inflammation. It could just be the way your body's been built. All of that. A couple more breaths. And slowly come on up. Take that knee up towards the sky and step the knee on the outside of the right leg. So again, you can wrap that leg in towards you, sit up nice and tall and take a twist. If you want to make that a little bit more intense, that spinal twist, bend the other knee in. Lift your right arm high and take it down on the outside of that left leg, and then look back over that left shoulder. And for the super bendies, of course, you can do the bind. I think that one needs long arms. That's my excuse anyway. And so sitting up nice and tall, remember that hand behind you, like scaffolding, pushing the spine tall. Feel that rotation in the upper back. And then look to the front, take a little counter rotation to the other side. And then come back to center. So if that right leg is long, bend it in. We're going to lift up. And we're going to begin to take whatever variation we like. So holding on to the leg, taking it for a little rock. Taking the foot into the crease of the elbow, a little rock. Or otherwise sliding that left hand underneath and coming in this way. Doesn't matter which variation you get, they're all great. So a little rock into the hip. Feel this one in the sort of piriformis side of the thigh, side of the butt rather. Yeah, nice. And then place the foot down on the ground. Cross your hands over so you grab either side of the foot and then bend the knee into the chest, draw it in. And that might be enough. Feel free to stay here or to extend the leg. If the leg's all the way straight, you might try to point the toe away. Feel that broaden the upper back. Feel that intensify the stretch in the top of the foot. So reaching those toes away. Awesome. And then slowly bend it. We'll continue on with that left leg because we're here. So right heel in towards the groin. Left leg comes out long to the side. You're going to drop your left hand down and take your right arm over. Now if you do have that blanket or towel handy, you're going to drop that just over the thigh. It's going to give you a little bit of something to rest against. And you're going to reach your right arm over, and this is going to be a beautiful lateral stretch all down that right side. And we do nowhere near enough lateral flexion. And you'll notice that if you do a little bit of this in your day, you'll probably find the neck is nowhere near as tight. So good. Take the hand behind the head and see if you can peel that right shoulder back. I'm not a great example of this, but looking up towards the sky. So we're slightly rotating the chest to look up. And you want to lead with that right elbow. Whoa, come all the way up. Amazing. Other side. So bring the left heel in and the right leg long. And again, a little something on top just to bring the leg a little closer. And then reach your left arm over. Really long through the side body. So starting reaching with those fingers, keeping it active. You feel that stretch all the way down the side, and when you're reaching to the QL at the back here. It's one of those movements that whenever I do it, I think I didn't even realize I was tired. Didn't even realize how sore I was. You might take that hand behind the head. See if you can peel that left elbow back behind you and turn the eyes up towards the sky. If that's too ambitious, just stay where we were. And slowly come on up. Okay, just a couple more. Legs go wide now, 2 legs wide. I never like folding forward in this position at my full range. I always like to bring it in a little bit. You can always make it stronger as you go along. Also like to lift my bum up and just tilt my pelvis forward a little. Send my tailbone out behind. So I've already got that pelvic tuck happening. And then begin to fold forward. So take your time. Might be down to hands, might be down to elbows. You might be one of those people that can just lie flat to the floor. So just doing whatever feels comfortable for you. Little micro bend behind the knees. And then think about reaching the crown of the head. Nice and long. And then you can't see my feet, I don't think. But then if you wanted to point your toes, that might lead you a little into some new places in the body. It might also bring you down a little deeper. Just one more breath here. And then slowly come on up. Bend the knees, hands under the knees, and then bring the legs back together. Now this is something I really wanted to get to tonight, so I'm glad we have. You're going to take your cushion or your towels or your blanket or whatever you're using. In fact, you can even go a little bit higher for this one. So I might go on to the bolster. And you're going to take the bolster down. And then you're going to lie your hips on top. So bring the hips up and then come all the way down to the floor. Oh, yeah. And stretch the arms long. So I don't know how much you can see, but at the moment my top leg is kind of just floating. I've brought the hips up high. I've created kind of a speed hump with the hips. And what I love about this is the more time you stay in it, it really opens up the IT band. It really begins to get into glute med, IT band, and a little into the back too, the sort of in and around the sacrum. So reach the arms long, rest your head on your bicep. I don't have a lot of time left, but remember this one. It's such a great pose. One of the few poses that really passively gets into that IT band. And when you do lots of sport, the IT bands are always tight. The other thing I like about this is it really stabilizes the hips while it works the muscles. So the bones are supported and the muscles just kind of have to relax around it. Alright, sensational. I'm just going to get that microphone out and we're going to roll that just straight over to the other side. So other hip down, arms go over. And don't worry, my top leg is kind of just floating in space. You might be able to rest yours one on top of each other, but if you can't, it's no big deal. And slowly come onto your back. I can't recommend that one enough. So hips are high, legs go long, and this is just going to open up the front of the hip flexors. So all that time that we spend sitting down, this psoas, this hip flexor area gets shorter and shorter. Take your arms overhead so it becomes something a little bit more indulgent and delicious. Just really let the heel, make sure the heels are on the floor. And really think about this as a back bend, opening up the front of the body. And slowly walk the knees up, bring the arms back down, and bring the knees into the chest and give it a little squeeze. And then feet to the floor and slide that any props out from underneath you. We're just going to take a spinal twist to finish things off. A little realignment for the spine is always great. So we're going to take both knees into the chest, and we're going to drop both knees over to the left side. And reach back with the right arm, find that twist. Try to relax the right shoulder down, but if it's floating up in space, that's cool too. We turn the head because we want to remember that spine goes all the way to the skull, all the way at the back. And then take an inhale back to center, and exhale it over to the other side. So knees to the right, reach back with the left hand, look over left side. And then slowly back to center. Knees just gently pump in towards you. And then come on up. Thank you, yogis, for joining me. I look forward to seeing you soon.